Today you're going to learn how to make Hokkaido milk tea using powder. Hey guys, I'm Kristin, the Bubble Tea Queen, and welcome to my channel. Welcome to this special series on how to make boba drinks using restaurant-grade bubble tea shop ingredients. I've owned a bubble tea shop for the last 5 years, and in this video you're going to learn how to make one of my very special recipes. Hokkaido milk tea is a very special flavor and #1 bestseller. The flavor of powders differs depending on which brand that you are going to be buying from. So just bear that in mind when you're going to be making this drink using the powder that you have. The flavored powder that we're using today is a base flavored powder, which means it's up to you to add the creamer or milk and fructose or sugar. But just remember that all powders are not created equal. Some have different textures, consistencies, and flavors. This is an industry standard bubble tea scoop. It can be used for powders and syrups. It's approximately 15 to 20 milliliters and just under a tablespoon. And remember, your scoops need to be exactly the same every time. The best way to do this is to take a scoop and shake it off real quick until it's perfectly flat. So first you will need 2 scoops of the Hokkaido powder. Next you will need 2 scoops of the creamer powder. If you're making this drink at home, I would definitely recommend getting a hold of some of this non-dairy creamer powder. But if you're unable to, the next best thing would be half and half or a really good whole milk. All of my milk tea recipes use 14 milliliters of fructose or about a half an ounce. And the best way that I have found to make this very quick and easy is by having 2 separate pumps, which give 7 milliliters each. That way when I have my cup, I just hold it under and I go pump, pump, done. And it's also more efficient and less expensive than getting one of those giant automatic machines. We're going to add 25 milliliters of very hot water. The reason why we do this first step is that way it melts the powder and brings out the flavor, and that way you don't get any chunks in your drink. And at this point, you want to give it a really good stir. Try your best to make sure that there's no clumps and all of the powder has dissolved. Next, we're going to add 150 milliliters of black tea. I prefer a dark Assam Black Tea for all of my milk tea bases. If you're making this at a bubble tea shop, you would simply bring your measuring jug over to the black tea dispenser and dispense 150 milliliters of the pre-brewed black tea. However, I know many of you will be making this drink at home. So this next step, I'm going to show you how to brew a small batch of black tea. This next step can actually be done before you add the hot water into the powders with the fructose. But just for the flow of this video, I'm going to go ahead and do it right now. I've got my nice glass teapot here that has a really good strainer at the spout. However, you could just simply put it in a Pyrex and then use some sort of strainer to make sure that none of the tea leaves actually gets into the drink. And of course, if you are making this at home by yourself, you can just use tea bags and just kind of approximate how much for this next step. So here I have a huge bubble tea shop size bag of tea, and it is loose leaf. I'm going to be using 2 heaping tablespoons of the black loose leaf tea for 200 milliliters of the hot boiling water. This recipe is actually really easy, it's just a bunch of 2s. And we want our hot boiling water to be about 85 degrees Celsius or 185 degrees Fahrenheit. All right, and we're just about right on the money for that temperature. So we have our 200 milliliters of 85 degrees Celsius or 185 degrees Fahrenheit of the hot water. And we're just going to pour it directly just like that. Give it a little bit of a swirl just to combine the water with all of the leaves. and then make sure that you cover it up. We're going to set a timer for 10 minutes. All right, our timer is up. So now we're going to strain out the tea. We need 150 milliliters. And you might be wondering, well, why did we pour in 200 milliliters if we only need 150? Well, a lot of the tea leaves have soaked up a lot of that water. And so actually there is almost exactly 150 milliliters of liquid left in here. The other 50 milliliters got absorbed into the tea leaves. Now that we have our 150 milliliters of the black tea, which is about 5 ounces, we can go ahead and pour it in. And there we go. It's another great opportunity to make sure that all of your powder is dissolved and there's no clumps in your drink. This bubble tea will be a 350 milliliter beverage, or about 12 ounces. In order to get it nice and cold and delicious and get it to the level that we need with the liquid, we're going to add ice before we shake. Now, how much ice? Depends. I know exactly with my shaker that this line signifies the ice and liquid level, and it's about 1 full scoop of ice from the machine, maybe about 5 or 6 ice cubes in total. Watch. Perfect. Check that out. You may say, well, hold on a second, I don't want that much ice in my drink, but don't worry. The ice is meant to melt. And once it melts, it will become exactly 350 milliliters, which is exactly the beverage that we want. And if there is any ice left over, you can either keep it in your drink if you have the space, or you can just throw it in the sink. The next step is for us to shake it for anywhere between 1 to 2 minutes. If you don't have a shaker machine, don't worry. You can always just shake it by hand. Next, I'm going to pour in my topping of choice. With a milk tea, it's always boba, aka tapioca pearl. Pop that in the sealer machine, and let's pour this Hokkaido in. Just remember to hold on to the bottom and the middle section, and just pop the top off. Here we go. You want to pour it just up to that top line, but no further. And make sure never to get any liquid around that top rim either, because it may prevent the machine from getting a really strong seal. There we go. Nice and tight. That delicious drink is ready to be consumed. And that's how you make a delicious Hokkaido milk tea from powder. All right, let's see how this tastes. Delicious. Well guys, thanks for joining me today as I made this delicious Hokkaido milk tea from powder. Please be sure to check out my other videos of this special series where I show you how to make boba drinks using restaurant quality grade bubble tea shop ingredients. Please give this video a thumbs up. And if you haven't already, please subscribe. I bring you a brand new drink video every week. See you soon.